Hello! So this next video is a video for anyone who's got any exams coming up that they need to revise for and they may be worried and they might need some tips and tricks. So I've recorded this video just after my phonetics exam, which you might remember from my exam day ramble. And I just thought it might be useful for anyone who's got exams coming up. And as it's Easter nearly, that's normally when revision should start taking place, or does, depending. And summer exams around the corner, people are getting worried. So I thought I would just do a video on what I do for revision, what I find useful, and what I find useful on the exam day itself. This might be useful for you, it might not. There might be a few things that you've not done or you've not heard of. So hopefully it's helpful. Yeah, so here's my video.
My exam's finished. I'm free, well, from some of that module. I have one bit of coursework due in, so I'll find out how I've done and if I've done okay on the 20th of this month, which I'm quite worried about. Fingers crossed I've done okay.
Quick update on the exam. I passed! Yay! I actually did pretty well and surprised myself and got higher than I thought, so that's good.
I've always been one of those people that has worked for it, worked hard and done okay in the end. And I thought I'd just go through with some tips that help me with both my exams and my revision, preparing for those exams, as others might find them useful. They're probably what other people have said as well, but I just thought if I say what works for me, there might be something in there that someone hasn't tried. So my number one is, for an exam, definitely revise. So I know that some people don't, and you do get those people that in the end they do okay, but I think it is just better to actually revise rather than chance it. And I know it's really cheesy, but the amount of work you do put in, you do get out in the end, and it is worth it. That's what I've always found. The more revision I've done for something, especially if I find it difficult, if I've done more and more revision and understood it, I've come out the other side in a better state than I would have if I had just gone, oh, do you know what, forget it, I can't be bothered. Which I know is a attitude that a lot of people might take, but I think that if it's something important to you and something maybe important to your parents or important to your future, I think it's worth it. Number two would be to plan. So not everyone does plan, but I do think it is really useful. So maybe a few months before the exam, write down a few things that you need to go over, all the things that you know you need for the exam. So one good thing in most GCSEs or A-levels or schoolwork, you always have a syllabus which shows you everything that you need to know that will be covered in that exam. And if it's uni, so mine would have lectures, and the lecturer would always say which lectures are useful for the exam and which ones and which topics you need. So have a list of topics or areas you need to go over, and say you've got a few months and you've got 10 topics and you've got, say, like 10 weeks or something. You can be like, once a week you'll like go over this topic, this topic, this topic. So you've set aside time for each area, rather than come to the end, have a week left and realise you've got 7 topics to go over and there is not enough time. If you've planned it out and you've got like a day here to go over that, a day here to go over that, and then you've left time at the end to kind of go through it all and kind of revise it again and kind of go through it again, then I think that's helpful to actually know where you are, what you have to do and what your end goal is, rather than I've had times when I've sat down, I've not planned, and I'm like, what do I do? And in the end, I kind of walk away and don't start it, which is really stupid. So if you plan it way in advance, when you know the exam's coming, you know what the syllabus is, you may not have covered everything yet, but just write down a list, and then you can say, oh, this month I'm going to go over this a bit more and whatever. And the earlier you start, the better. So if you've got loads of notes to then work from, or note cards or posters, then you're in a much better state for that exam. And my third thing will probably be allowing enough time for it. So it's kind of based on the other point. If you just leave a week before the exam, although there are some exams probably that might be okay for you, or if you already understand it, me personally, I need a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months before an exam to really understand the concepts and be able to answer questions about it. It all depends on what kind of exam it is. So for the one I had yesterday, I kind of was working at it all the way through. So our lecturer would always give us things to practice at home, and I was always picking it up because it was skills that you're not necessarily going to get when you're at home and you're just going to revise it in a week and then get it. It's something you have to keep working at and getting better at. But there's other things like biology or sciencey subjects where there is a yes or a no answer, and maths, And if you go into the exam not knowing how to balance an equation or whatever it is, you're not going to be able to do it. Whereas if you, a month before the exam, had practiced that and then understood all the different steps, then practiced it on new material and test papers, and then you go into the exam, you're going to feel much more confident in that exam. And that brings me to my next point, which is don't stress. So that might be a really stupid thing to say, and I know you can't help how you feel, but I would make sure that you do some things that de-stress you. So find things that you enjoy and make sure you fit them in. So you might have a week working on one topic, but then on the Sunday night you might think, I'm going to stop all revision, I'm going to go have a nice long bath, which is something that I enjoy, or go to the cinema with my friends, go bowling, go out for a nice dinner, make a nice dinner if you like cooking, or bake a cake. Anything that is your interest and that de-stresses you, and it will take your mind off it. So it might be watching some TV or watching some Netflix, as long as it's not a series you're going to get so into that you then stop revision, which I have had happen. I always watch something I've already seen, so for me it would be something like Veronica Mars, which is what I've been watching recently, or Gilmore Girls, or something really easy to watch, and I've seen it before, I know what happens, so I can stop the episode or watch one episode and not feel like I need to see the other one. Whereas if I watch something new, so I really want to watch Orange is the New Black and things like that, but if I'd start that, then I'm going to be like, oh, I really want to watch the next one, I want to know what happens, I don't know where this is going, and that'll take over. So, and I'm quite into TV shows that it will take over my whole life and I'll just start watching them 24/7. So I have to be careful when I start a new TV series. One thing I'm really enjoying at the moment is actually Sherlock. So when that comes, I think it's on tonight, hopefully. I watched the one on New Year's Day. I really enjoy them. And that's just one episode. There isn't another episode for a week or so after. So I can really enjoy it, watch it, and have that as my little break. So find out what works for you and really make sure you have those nice breaks and really de-stress when you're feeling a bit anxious. My one tip on that would be maybe not to go out drinking, because although you feel really good about it at the time, afterwards you feel even worse. So say like your emotional level's like here, and then you go out drinking, you feel like here and you feel like so much better. After you finish drinking, you feel even worse than what you did, so you're further down. So in that might make you feel like you don't really want to revise at all. It might really affect your mood. I know for me, I've done that before, made the mistake, and then I've come home and not revised the next day at all because of, feeling hungover, just don't feel right, don't feel in the mood, and it's kind of wasted a whole 2 days for me, rather than if I just gone for a nice bath or gone out with my friends but gone for a dinner or gone to a coffee shop or watched a film, watched a Disney movie, which, is always fun if you're into that sort of thing, and just done something really chilled and really take your mind off it. And then the next day you wake up revived, awake and able to just crack on with the revision again. My next thing would be make sure you leave time to practice. So get some practice papers, ask your lecturer, ask your teacher, ask whoever it is, and get some practices in. Find some books that have questions in it, find questions online quizzes, anything matching. Make up your own quiz. If you've got revision cards, you can have one on one side and a matching on the other and have to match them up. Anything like that to make sure it's really consolidated it inside your mind. So rather than, oh, I've read all these notes, I know it, you read the notes and then you answer questions about it, so then you actually really do get the content. Otherwise you might read something and think, yeah, I've got this, and then you go into the exam and you're like, oh, I did read that, but I don't know how to apply it to this question or whatever. It depends on what it is, but especially when there's a yes or no answer, or you need to know dates and names and researchers and whatever it is. So I think really make sure you've got time to practice what information you've gone over. The next thing I would say to do is to make sure you've got like friends around you and people that love you and support you, rather than people who maybe don't really care what you're doing and don't think you should be revising and want you to come out all the time. You want people around you that do want you to have a good future and do want you to do well in what you're doing. And that said, if you've got people on your course or your class that would benefit from maybe discussing the questions together, discussing or revising together, set up some time to revise. I mean, it's useful, it can be helpful to hear someone else say something that you might not understand, or even just teaching someone something really consolidates it in your mind and you know it better then. And make sure you know you have an area that you can revise. So if you're at home and you're not used to being at home because you're at uni, make sure your room's nice and like you've got like a nice bit to revise in, or maybe you're allowed in the living room to revise, or there's a local library or your friend's house, whatever it is, find a nice bit to revise. I know that when it's summer for me, which it isn't soon, but there's always summer exams, I like to sit outside, revise, read a book in the sun, have a nice cold drink, and like just kind of sunbathe while I revise. And I just feel like getting that sun rays makes me feel so much happier. And in the winter I like just being snugly in a nice blanket, some slippers on, and really feeling like nice and warm and cozy while I'm revising at like I have like my own desk and stuff. I think that's really helpful. And my next tip, I don't know what number I'm on, I might number these, would be to have posters and revision cards. So you're really, especially for people who are visual learners, you're really kind of putting it in your brain that this is what it looks like. So for me, if I've written a poster out or read something in a book and it's all colourful or whatever, I go into the exam and I think, oh, where is it on that page? And that's what I think. And I know there are some people that say, oh, don't make your notes look really pretty, although maybe not, but I know for me, when I'm writing something out, so I've already done all my notes in the lecture or whatever it is, and I've come home and I've like understood it all and I've gone over the journals or whatever you need to go over, but then actually writing it on a poster, which I normally do on like PowerPoint online, or I'll write it out by hand, I've actually got like a nice visual, like, oh, in that corner it's in red, it says this, and it's in blue on this side and pink here, and there's this picture to represent that. It really helps me know where things are, and I can visualise that in my mind when I'm in the exam. So that might be useful for some people, especially for like kinesthetic learners. They might have to do the action. So if you're doing a more hands-on job, or it's something that requires moving around, you can move around and like remember it, or have like hand signals for something that isn't necessarily manual, but it will help you remember it. So maybe look online, see if there's any like tongue twisters that help you, anything that kind of just consolidates it and makes you be able to remember it. And like kind of back onto like breaks, my next tip would be like make sure you give yourself rewards. So say like, I don't know, you've just had dinner and you really want dessert, why don't you make sure you've done 10 questions before you have that dessert? Or you really want to watch the next programme in the series you're watching, make sure you've gone over the next topic by that evening, so then you, when you go to bed, you can watch that before going to bed. Or whatever it is, like just kind of give yourself a few rewards here. I know one of my friends recently did like revision cards, and then when they got something right they could get a chocolate at the end. It doesn't always have to be food, but if there's something that you really want, or you want to go out at the weekend, have like a structure and have like points you want to go over. If you've gone over them, go out, have fun. And my last one on probably revision tips is make sure you eat properly, look after yourself, and sleep. So you don't want to feel really groggy, you don't want to feel hungry, you don't want to feel really lethargic because you've eaten too many of the wrong foods. Make sure you're eating a balanced diet, and make sure you're sleeping for however long you feel you need a night. So it might be 8 hours, which is the recommended amount, but some people can function on less and some people need more. Find out what works for you and what food you need to, like brain food. They say like there's different food that's really good for keeping you alert, helping your brain function. So it could be like fish is really good, dark chocolate is good, vitamin C, like lots of different things. Make sure you're intaking everything positive, so then you feel positive whilst you're revising rather than feeling down, which may not help what you're trying to achieve. And then on to exams. So on the day of the exam, make sure you eat. So if it's a morning exam, have a bit of breakfast, even if it's just a banana and an orange juice or something like that. Make sure you've had something into your system, otherwise you might not feel you can function properly and your brain might not work properly. I know that I've got friends who say that they feel really too ill in the morning, but I do think it's beneficial, even if it's just a handful of nuts or something, just to kind of get your system going and to feel more functional when you're in that exam. And I would say number 2 would be not to try and do too much on the day. So don't revise and try and like cram it all in on the day. So I've always had like revision cards, and now and again I go through them in the morning just to kind of know what I'm doing, but I wouldn't necessarily do it the whole morning and go over loads of questions, because if I get something wrong, I'm not necessarily going to be able to learn that in that hour or two I've got before that exam, and you're just going to make yourself feel like you don't know the content rather than remember all the stuff you do know, and it might get you a bit too stressed out before the exam. So I would say have some revision cards maybe and go through them a few times, but that be it. Yeah, so, and also I'd make sure you're not feeling too stressed. So if you like going for a shower in the morning or a bath or getting yourself nice and like maybe putting some makeup on, doing your hair or putting something nice on, whatever makes you feel like you feel positive and you feel confident, do that. So, and also dress comfortably. So you might have a nice dress that makes you feel really comfortable, makes you not feel too like podgy or whatever it is that you don't like about yourself. Put that on if that's going to make you feel better. I know that in one of my chemistry exams for, I think, either GCSE or A-level, I can't remember, I ended up curling my hair before the exam. Sounds crazy. I don't know why, but I'd finished my revision. I think it was like an afternoon exam and I was at home revising, and I've done enough. I'd done a few hours in the morning and I just thought, I've had breakfast, what else can I do? I was like, I'm just going to curl my hair. And it made me feel so much better, and I just felt more positive and I think more confident when I was in the exam. So whatever it is that you like doing, do it. Paint your nails, whatever it is. My next point would probably be have enough stationery and equipment for the exam that you need. So make sure you read what the requirements are. If you need a specific calculator, get that specific calculator. If you need a black pen, take 3 black pens or pencils and rubbers and sharpeners. And if you need a clear pencil case, make sure you've got that, because in most of my exams I've had, I couldn't have a coloured pencil case in case you'd written something on the inside, so it was all clear. But whatever you need, make sure you take it. And turn your mobile phone off, because you don't want that going off, especially in school. I think it actually takes away marks or makes you get a 0 or whatever it is. So make sure you don't do anything that can jeopardise your mark that's nothing to do with actually you knowing your stuff. And make sure you arrive early for the exam. I'm not saying arrive 2 hours before, because that's just going to stress you out. You're going to talk to everyone who's really stressed out for the exam. But make sure you're there maybe half an hour before. And if you are there a bit earlier and you've got to commute, what I always say is go around the corner, find a coffee shop, find somewhere to sit. That it could be with your friends, but not with anyone who's really going to stress you out before the exam. So someone who's really worried about it. And just kind of forget about it in those moments. Have a nice coffee. Make sure you've got an alarm or know what time you need to leave to get there. But don't just sit there worrying, because that worry is just going to like resonate through you, and you're going to go in there and you're not going to feel great for that exam. And I'd say one that's kind of like obvious, but some people do forget, is make sure you go to the toilet before. Don't go in needing a wee, because all you're going to do is think about that the whole way through rather than actually think about the questions. I think that's a really important one that some people do forget. And I know it's a bit like, you know, being your mum and saying, make sure you go toilet before you go. But it's really important, and it can be the end. And you don't want to be going to the toilet during it. And my last point is keep hydrated, so make sure you're drinking enough and have water with you. So if you get a bit stuck on something, you might get a bit panicky. You don't want to sit there and worry. Just take a sip of your water, have 30 seconds just to like breathe deeply, calm down, and carry on with the next question. And on that note, if you find a question hard, don't stick at it and keep trying at it. Go to the next question, do the paper, and come back to it, because otherwise you've wasted time on one question that you might get wrong. But all those questions you know are like further on. Do all the questions you know, all the questions that are easier to you, then work on the harder ones. And take your time. Read the questions twice. That is a really important thing. Read every question twice before answering it, because the amount of people who lose marks just because they've read a question wrong is ridiculous. Yeah, I'd say that's probably all I'm going to say about exams today and revision. And I think for the rest of the day, I'm just going to take my Christmas tree down. I'm probably going to have to show you that later. I will probably cut to a clip to that in a minute. It's a little bit destroyed by the cat. I mean, it has survived, but it does look really dishevelled. I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video. I'll keep at it. I'm probably try and do one every week, one every other week, something like that. Don't really know what I'm going to talk about yet, but we'll see. And yeah, so good luck in any exams that you're doing and any revision that you're doing, and I hope it all goes well. Bye!